Hey, Chris, is there any update on Isaiah, how he's doing with his wrist at this point?
No, I mean I think he's close to practicing. I've been out of town for a day, so it's my understanding that he's going to resume practice. I don't know if that'll be full capacity. I'll find out here just a little bit.
Your game's not till Monday, and Abilene Christian plays 2 games before then, but they're a team that's in their transition to Division One, having a couple rough spots so far. Kind of, have you looked at them yet, and what are your impressions of them?
I have not watched any tape on them yet, which is normal protocol for me. I don't usually start watching a team until 3 days before we play them. So this is 3 days today. I spent all day yesterday watching film of our game against Miami to figure out what we need to fix and what we need to work on before I concentrate on our next opponent.
And what were your takeaways from the Miami game?
Well, I thought, early on our transition defense was not where it needs to be. We were uncharacteristic in a couple areas in transition that could have easily been eliminated had we talked, and we didn't do that, which is disheartening, but, something that we have to fix.
Chris, how much can you tell after 4 games? How much do you like your team at this point of the season? Can you find out a lot about your team in 4 games?
No, I don't think so. I think we've got a long way to go. I think every team in the country does. We have yet to really face the adversity that every team at some point or another faces. Some teams face it, right in the first game, in the first couple weeks. Some teams, don't face it until conference play. But we're going to hit a rough patch at some point. We have young guys, and I like our effort every day in practice. But we're going to continue to play better and better teams as the schedule unfolds. And the true test is over time as we hit those rough spots. Do we continue to come together and get better? I'd like to think that we will, but again, that's wishful thinking.
How big is it that Matt comes right out of the chute, essentially averaging almost a double-double? Because when you get to the Big East, obviously you're going to need him in the paint.
Well, we felt like Matt's been a known quantity for our coaching staff for over a year. I remember sitting here last year, talking about him when people would ask questions about our transfer sitting out. The reason that Matt has transitioned so well is because he didn't take the year off. He was really attuned to learning our system. He was diligent in his approach to how he ate. He never missed a lift. He got in extra lifts. He did extra conditioning. He's a self-starter, and he's a very hard worker. And if you give Matt the roadmap, he'll do it. Some guys will look at you like they want to do it. They think they can do it, but they don't necessarily do it to the level that Matt's done. And I'm happy for him, and hopefully he sets an example for other guys that sees, exactly what hard work can do.
Kamal has had some ups and downs as any freshman. Well, had some missteps, but also some really nice moments. What are your impressions of him so far?
Kamal's got a lot to learn. He's a guy that has never valued practice prior to coming here, and at our level that just doesn't work. You don't turn it on game night because you don't get to play in the games. My old mentor, Skip Prosser, used to say playing time is not like Halloween candy where when you put a suit on, everybody gets a little bit. And Kamal has to learn that maybe the hard way, but if his practice habits aren't what his teammates are, then he doesn't earn trust in the coach's eyes to get on the floor. I think he's talented. I think when he learns that and learns the value of every single day showing up to work hard, then he can be a really good player for us. But I don't know if he's learned it yet. And it sounds simple, but, sometimes it isn't.
What about guys like James Farr or even Eric Stinger? Have they maybe shown him a little bit of the light there?
Well, I think those two guys are different from Kamal in the sense that, Eric's always been a very, very hard worker. I mean, whatever you gave Eric, but he's just not as talented as the other players. I mean, I think he'd tell you that, but effort beats talent in many circumstances. James was just a freshman a year ago that he had a long learning curve. Defensively, he had never really played against guys in the post. His lateral quickness doesn't really allow him to just guard perimeter players, especially at the position he plays. So he had to get physically tougher. He had to get stronger. And, like I said last year, he was behind some people, and he's managed to do a great job this season of not getting too far behind early on, leading us in rebounding several weeks of practice and proving that he belongs out on the floor. And again, you can point to guys over the years at Xavier, whether it's a guy like B.J. Raymond, Jason Love, James Farr, where it doesn't come early to them, but they keep working and they keep improving, and James is a great example of that.
Coach, how about Jalen? I mean, it's early, obviously, but is he on a trajectory where you want a freshman to be this early?
I mean, I think Jalen, as I said in the preseason, I think he's going to have some ups and downs. I think there are going to be games where, you're like, wow, Jalen. And then there's going to be games where you're like, wow, Jalen, what's he doing? And I think fans have seen that. I think our team's seen that. But I think he's gained a lot of confidence over these last couple games. He's been able to play extended minutes. He's played extremely well. He had 11 rebounds the other night. And he's adjusted defensively a little bit quicker than I think we would have thought. But again, we have a lot better competition coming up, and that's when it's going to get put to the test.
You're not really big about talking about yourself, but you're approaching a milestone here. With one win, you make the top 5 of the all-time wins list.
In college basketball?
Here, Xavier.
Oh.
What does that mean to you?
Nothing. It just means they've kept me around long enough.
I guess to kind of go off of that, in terms of accolades, Semaje's on the Naismith trophy list. He's made a lot of early season watch lists. How do you think how has he handled himself in the first 4 games? It's, again, hard to tell with this competition maybe compared to what you might see later in the year. But what are your thoughts on him so far?
I think he's playing well. I think that, Semaje has learned, like all of our team, that we're a different team than a year ago. He had to do so much for us. Last year he had to bring the ball up, he had to score it. He virtually had to do everything and do it in about 38 minutes of play. And he's, I think, recognizing the fact that he doesn't have to make every play every time down the floor. It's probably hard for him because he loves to make plays. I mean, it's what he thrives on. But I think he's become a really, really, really good defender. He takes a lot of pride in it. You can see that the last 2 leading scorers have come in and not even put up 5 or 6 points. He's a big reason why. And I think he's our guy that, down the stretch, we know he's going to want to make plays and help this team win.